watch lovers? Brad from Brent Miller, and I'm going to be perfectly honest. This video is going to run over 5 minutes, and I'm probably more excited than anyone should be to get to compare these two watches. If you can't tell, I enjoy what I do. So I have the Tudor Black Bay 58 and the new to Brent Miller Omega Seamaster 300 on the stainless steel bracelet. I've got to do a comparison. I have to kind of take these both through their paces. I just spent the last 15-20 minutes whatever just taking some measurements and writing everything down. So I'm going to try to share everything I can about both of these. If I miss something, I will put it in the comments. I'm going to try to be as thorough as I can. The one thing I will not have is a lume shot of either one of these. So I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on trying to get you guys some lume shots on these dive watches. But regardless, let's just get this all the dimensions out of the way and get the measurements out of the way. So the Tudor, I measured straight across the bezel without the crown at 39.1. When I measured the case from the inside of the crown diagonally across, I came up with 38.9. So essentially, we do have a true 39mm watch on those measurements. The Omega, the same thing. I measured it at 40.8 straight across this bezel, and then exactly 41 across the bezel, and then 40.8 going across the case. So, you know, again, 41. So you have a 39 versus a 41mm watch. With that said, you know, I don't know if you can tell here, but for me looking at them, I do feel the Omega, I mean, obviously it's larger case, but I do feel it wears a little bit larger than that as well. And I think it's because when I measured the actual crystals, so I tried to measure the dials themselves, and it ended up really just being the crystals or where the bezel. You have a 33.5 across on the Omega versus where am I here? 31 on the Tudor. So about a 2.5mm difference, which again, if you look at it, I think the bezel here is a little bit thinner compared to a little bit thicker on the Tudor. Obviously both, you know, matte black bezels. You know, the Omega is supposed to be a hardened anodized bezel, where I think you just have an anodized bezel. I don't know if there's anything specifically or any properties to harden this on the Tudor, not that I've read or I'm familiar with. So, you know, slight difference there, but, you know, just looking at them, you know, you have your 15-minute countdown here on your timing, on your bezel, just kind of pretty standard. Straight text here, nothing on the Omega. Guys, these are both fantastic watches. I'm going to let you now know I'm not going to pick one of these. I would be happy to own or wear either one of these, and frankly, I hope to do so at some point in the future. I've been kind of holding off on a Black Bay till I wanted to see these new Seamaster 300. So obviously you have your sandwich dial with your hour markers and indices. And here you just, you know, you have your applied markers with your gilt. So I'm figuring most people are all probably in the camp, either you like your snowflake hand or you like your broad hour hand, you know. I like both of them. Obviously you have a little bit more lume here. I don't know. I like them both. I really do. So let's keep going through the dimensions. We got 48mm lug tip to lug tip on the Omega versus 47.8 on the Tudor. So they are essentially both 48mm. You know, to me, the Omega looks longer, but I mean, they're both essentially, and I think it's just the way the case is shaped, the mid case. You know, they're both essentially 48mm, you know, 47.6, so 47.5 compared to 48. We have a 21mm lug width on your Omega, so you do have a thicker lug width versus 19 on your Tudor. And let's get into the case thickness. When I had these side by side, that is obviously a glaring difference. You know, 14mm case, 14.1 is what I measured on the Omega versus 12. I have a non-crown side here, 12 on the Tudor. So a little bit thicker on the Omega. 300 meters of water resistant on the Omega, 200 meters on the Tudor. Let's see here. Omega is using the caliber 8912. That is the master chronometer, METAS certified. So, you know, going through all of the extra specs on the METAS is, I think, what is it, 0 to +5, where your Tudor is the MT5462 in-house movement. It's COSC certified, so you're looking at -4 +6. So, you know, regulated to 10 seconds a day, regulated to 5 seconds a day. 60-hour power reserve on your Omega, 70-hour power reserve on your Tudor. I did weigh both of these. Now, again, these still have plastic on them. They are the full-size bracelets. We'll get to the clasps in a minute, but I did weigh them. The Omega was 152.2 grams. The Tudor was 145.5 grams. So a little bit heavier, what you would expect. A little larger case, a little larger bracelet, you know, at the 21 lug. So, but not too different. So let's talk about the clasps. On the Tudor, we have the ceramic ball bearings here. So great feel, flip lock clasp, okay? And we'll get the measurements in a second. You know, looks good, integrated well. On your Omega, you have a dual deployant or twin trigger, twin trigger deployant. And the biggest difference on your clasp is going to be your micro adjustment right here. So if I pull this in and focus a little bit, you push, this slides out and gives you about, I measured that previously, that's not all the way out. Gives you about 3.5, maybe 4 millimeters of play in the clasp, which is fantastic. It's easy on the fly. You don't need any tools. No micro adjustments though. So again, just push that in, slide that back in. On your Tudor, we have, I think, was it 3? You have 3 micro adjustments right here. So there is some ability to do so, but obviously just gonna be easier and more refined on the Omega. The clasps themselves, if you are wondering, and I know some of you are, I measured them straight across the Tudor clasp from the top of the flip lock here to the kind of bottom of the, almost like the crown, the very point, was 31.4. So essentially 31.5 is how long the clasp was. The Omega from the top to the bottom was 35.3. So, you know, about 4 millimeters longer, which if you look, is about right. Bracelets, obviously, you know, we talked about this being the polished and satin finished. Your Tudor is completely satin finished, but you do have these kind of ridges or bevels on the sides. I don't know exactly what I'll call them. And then you have the rivets, obviously, which folks either love or hate or are indifferent to. But they are there. They obviously exist. Compared to your flat, and again, pretty thin on the Omega compared to like the Bond clasp. I'll have to do a video comparing this this bracelet to the Bond bracelet, but I was surprised how thin the links were. They were pretty comfortable. Man, if I missed anything, guys, let me know. Looking at movements, we already talked about the movements. You do have the exhibition case back on the Omega compared to your solid stainless steel on your Tudor. And then lastly, you get the price point. So your Tudor Black Bay is going to run you $3,700 retail, and the Omega is listed retail $6,500. So, you know, not quite double, but close enough, I guess you could say. So again, I think, you know, they're both fantastic. This video, I've rambled on long enough. I knew this was going to be a long one, so if you're still with me, I appreciate it. I'm not going to let this go over 10 minutes. So if there's a comparison you want to see or something you want me to do, please, you know, let me know. Shoot me an email, brad@brentlmiller.com. Happy to help out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.